Hey guys, it's Michelle. Thanks so much for being here. So I did a video a few weeks ago about how to add value to your life in 10 steps. And I've been procrastinating on this series about how I changed my life in 2 years because I don't know where to start. There's really a lot to it. And even doing YouTube and having my audience here, you guys have really helped me to expand and to grow. I wanted to share this part of myself because I know that someone out there is going through what I went through. I was delaying a lot of healing just after my divorce and certain aspects of my life. I was delaying grief after my mom died, and there's all kinds of unresolved trauma that can really get to you later as an adult, create limiting beliefs, create walls, create invisible hurdles for yourself. So I'm going to break this down a little bit at a time. One of the things that I had to recognize in myself is that I was a people pleaser. So right now I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm getting better every single day. Now, as a people pleaser, I lacked discipline and boundaries and self-love. Not even know what it meant by self-love. When people said, you have to love yourself, I did not know what that means. I was not raised to love myself. I was raised to think of everybody else but me, everybody else before me. Now, it's good to think about other people, but if it's at your own expense, that can get very toxic. So I was toxic to myself and I was toxic to other people. And when I started to change, my inner world, my outer world started to change. So what is people pleasing? People pleasing is when your happiness depends on the happiness of others, depends on the approval of others. This can also lead to codependency, when you depend on your significant other or maybe a family member, your mom, your dad, for approval and for happiness. I can't be happy unless they're happy. And most likely that person is doing the same thing to you. It becomes a very toxic cycle. I would put other people's needs in front of mine even when it didn't make any sense. I would sacrifice my own needs. I would lend my own money when I had no business doing so. I would do all kinds of things that made my friends scratch their heads of why are you doing this? And it all has to do with self-sabotage. Now, people pleasing, always saying yes to other people, can lead you to a vulnerable cycle with people who have narcissistic tendencies or who are narcissists. That means they take advantage. They think about themselves and they see a vantage point with you where they can just take advantage and use you for whatever they want. I'm going to get into this later in the series more in depth, but first examine where you might be people pleasing. I think as humans, we all tend to want to make other people happy. What I had to realize, but I was doing so many favors for people. Hey, Michelle, can you drive me here? Can you drive me there? Can I pick your brain? And it was always at the point where I was pouring from my cup, but not receiving. I had to look at myself and my relationships, friends, business, or romantic. Are you receiving or are you over giving? Because in every relationship, there's a give and take. It's an equal energy of exchange. However, I kept getting myself in a situation that was not an equal exchange, and I was pouring my cup empty. If you can't remember people pleasing and boundaries, think of this always. Be very intentional with your time, your actions, and your words, and your thoughts. Everything you do with intention. So another way to look at this is I started to block my time. And like I said, I was meeting with everyone, every entrepreneur who wanted to pick my brain. I charge for that. You should too. Want your advice? Even if it's, can you go shopping with me for 2 hours and pick stuff for me? Everything has to be an equal exchange. What are you getting in exchange? I know in my Catholic upbringing, I was taught to not want anything in exchange, but I took that to the extreme. I was taught to help people, not expect anything back. Guess what? You are allowed to expect something back. It's not being selfish. It just means you are creating boundaries and you teach people around you how to treat you. And they will know to value your time But if you're just giving up freely, then nobody is going to value your time and think that you're the person they're always going to call when they need a favor. I had no idea I was doing this until a friend of mine who happens to be a therapist, she said, why do people always ask you for favors? They have no business asking for you. You're a single mom. And it never dawned on me. And thank you for doing that. But it never dawned on me. It's because I always say yes. And I know the reasons I was saying yes is because I felt that if I said no, I felt like I'd be a bad person. So I always wanted to be the nice girl, the helpful girl. I wanted to be the helpful friend. I was so desperate for approval from anyone who could potentially be my friend that I thought everyone was my friend and would be there for me anytime I needed anything. But no, that wasn't the case. Because I was such a yes lady, everyone was just taking advantage of whatever they needed. Okay, not everyone, but I also didn't know how to ask for what I needed or to draw those boundaries for myself. So I became the person you could ask a favor from, even if it squeezed my time. It's just because I did not know how to say no. Okay, so to get over this, if you are struggling with this, make it intentional. Does doing this extra PTA meeting, does it help me or hurt me? Can I say no? Can the PTA world go on its spin on its axle without me? Yes, yes, they can. Will I get some time for myself, feed my soul, and feel a little bit better? Yes. Trust me, it's hard to practice saying no to someone else and yes to yourself. In all that time I was doing favors, I kept saying no to myself. That was at my expense. If it's in a situation where it's like, okay, yes, it's a win-win, to go do it. Go do that PTA meeting. But if it's not feeding your soul, it's okay to say no, okay? So this leads just straight into boundaries, that I did not know that I was allowed to have boundaries as, of course, a child of Asian parents. Like, you don't talk back. We don't have our own agenda. We just have to go along and agree as much as we possibly can. So I was never taught that saying no, it's okay. It's actually protecting myself. I worried so much about other people's feelings and how the other person thought and felt and what would they think of me if I said no. Guess what? This extended into my adulthood in dating people that I had no business dating, or rather they had no business dating me. So especially after my mom died, I had a hard time because I was trying to replace her and ended up with vultures. But I couldn't say no, that doesn't work for me. And I let people pressure me into doing things that were not right for me. Everyone is allowed to have their own values in life. Everyone is allowed to have their own values in relationships, their own priorities. So if you don't want to sleep with someone on the second or third date, don't. Guess what? I was surrounded with people who were like, hey, this is the 21st century. Women are liberated now. You can do whatever you want. Don't listen to those people. They're all hoes. Okay? Do what is best for you. Because if you don't, you're not showing the true version of yourself. So here's another little surprise, that people pleasing is a form of manipulation. You don't realize it when you're doing it, because I was so focused on making the other person happy and win their approval. Where the manipulation comes in is that I'm not being my true self. I was saying yes when I wanted to say no. I wasn't honoring myself. I was manipulating that person to like me. But in some situations I see I could have said no, and so would have still have been my friend, just understanding that Michelle can't do it right now and I'll ask someone else, and that was okay. So in addition to not speaking my truth, I was projecting as if these people are so bad because they keep asking me a favor, not realizing it's because I keep saying yes. It doesn't mean they're good and bad people, right? There were bad people in the mix and there were good people in the mix, but I couldn't project onto someone who had good intentions and just be like, don't ask me anymore. I'm so mad that you keep asking me. When they might not have any idea that you're getting angry. They're in their head, they're just like, she wants to help me and she's saying yes. So that's where being true to yourself always has to count. Do not be manipulative, okay? Now, the third thing, and each one of these topics can go on and on, but the third thing was learning to love myself. I had no idea what that meant. No idea. I was raised to please my mom. So when she passed unexpectedly, I just did not know who I was, and it made me very vulnerable to get into narcissistic relationships. One where they just tell you what to do because you're so rotten and you're not good enough. And it's the sick cycle of having to please someone or feeling like you had to please someone who was unpleasable. It was like playing the slot machine. You're either going to get a high or a low. Now, I'll get more into that, but narcissists are highly manipulative people. Now, I don't want to misuse the word. Like, it's not someone who stares in the mirror all day. Although my ex was like that toward the end of our 3-year relationship. There are like diagnosed narcissists and those who have traits, and there are a lot of people out there who have those traits of being highly manipulative and making you feel guilty for saying no, for wanting to stick with your own boundaries. This is where you have to be really strong and practice that self-love. I'm just going to give you some tips to help you get there because I had no idea. I did not have a clue of what that meant. Like I said, raised in the Catholic Church, I was taught to make sacrifices, like to be a martyr and carry that cross and struggle. And none of that is true. It's actually very damaging and very toxic because you are not being true to yourself. It makes one very unhappy, okay? When you're unhappy, you project onto others and road rage and all that stuff. So part of loving myself, my friends, was just figuring out who I am and how to honor myself and how to honor my soul. And is every single thing I do in the day intentional? For instance, like I get up now and I do my devotionals. I write down my gratitudes. I have time for myself. I make myself breakfast and my daughter breakfast. I make my coffee. I don't take any phone calls. I don't answer any emails until my self-care ritual is out of the way. If I am getting exercise, and this is something I did not used to do either, I've got to stick to my schedule. If I want to go to yoga at 8:30, it's yoga at 8:30. If someone wants to talk to me at 8:30, I can't take the phone call. This is where I was being so flexible with my boundaries of like so desperate for approval and attention that, okay, we can talk. I'll listen to you talk about your sister for a whole hour. Again, what's the benefit for me? I just lost an hour of my time that I should have been exercising. So these were things that I had to recognize that I was lacking discipline for myself, that I was recognizing that I was lacking boundaries of saying, hey, not now, but we can talk later, and doing things for me. Because I can remember now more often than not when I would get off the phone with someone and just feel so tired because I was so drained about listening to her complain about her sister or her husband or her goldfish. And, you know, you don't need to put yourself in that position. Think of how low that is, even if these are friends you've had forever, but think of yourself as the queen that you are. Would you take that time out of your day to just listen to somebody ramble or do a favor for a friend that wasn't benefiting you? And like I said, not every favor has to benefit you, but it has to be an equal exchange. So I wasn't getting that. I was completely depleting myself. So I had to become very intentional. Is this for the other person or is it for me? Does it benefit my business? Does it benefit my money, my health? And if it didn't, if it was taking away from you, your money, your health, your mental well-being, you can say no. You can just not answer the phone and it will be okay. So for all my people pleasers and recovering people pleasers out there, I just want to let you know that you can change your life quickly. It's not easy, but once you're on the other side of that mountain, your world gets so much better. If I look back to who I was before, and you know, I'm not there yet. I believe life is a journey, but one thing I refuse to do is be stuck in my old ways and my old cycles. If it creeps up every now and then, I have to remind myself, does this throw me off track? Does this benefit me or does this drain me? Now, it often helps to have some kind of a small goal, whether that's like weight loss or just having more time for yourself. For me, it was doing YouTube. Who can I cut out? What can I cut out? What kind of nonsense business can I cut out? Like, and by that, I mean, what type of time wasters can I cut out so I can get my YouTube channel started? So it starts with just small, tiny goals and incremental steps that will snowball, because none of us change overnight. I wish we did. I wish it was so easy, just wave a wand, but just start with small things. Like, does eating this cookie contribute to my weight loss if weight loss is your goal? Does going out with my girlfriends where we're just gonna eat and drink, does that contribute to my goal? In my case, going out with my girlfriends and gossiping was not contributing to my goal of being a YouTuber. When you start to think of things this way, you'll start to categorize your time every minute of the day much quicker of like, okay, where does this belong? Does it help me or not? So start there. Let me know in the comments what you will be changing in your life. Hopefully not 2 years, in the next 1 month. You know, looking back at my experiences, that it will help people, and hopefully you'll get through these hurdles quicker than I did. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you love this content. My name is Michelle. Talk to you soon. Bye.